What's the project that you were talking to me about? No, the storytelling and.
Oh yeah, the storytelling came from so I made an album called Travel Poems, and it's called that because originally these were it's all like original songs, but they were kind of like written in different places that I was traveling to, and so the original conception was like, oh yeah, these songs are actually kind of each song is kind of like a postcard to the place I was in. Maybe or maybe you could think of it as a soundtrack to that place, but I like the postcard analogy.
Yeah.
And so I was really thinking of like, now as I'm playing them, or like I ended up like recording it, and the way we recorded it was like pianos all around, so the kind of the vibe sounds different frequently. It sounds different, like and so I don't know, maybe for the listener it's like disconcerting, because it's like, oh, this one's like it's like in someone's basement, this one's like by a stream, like what's happening. But it came from the kind of this concept that I wanted to then transport the listener to these places.
Wow. Each track
so-
has its own identity, basically.
Each track has its own identity. Yeah, I mean that's what I'm going for. And maybe it's a little ambitious because the it's like 27 tracks, so it's like spread across
Wow.
3 albums. It's like multiple volumes, but there's also like these soundscapes that I put in it to evoke a certain environment and kind of have a song contextualized in an experience.
Wow.
So like there's like a part where like right before the song there's the sounds of like kind of like friends laughing and talking, and then one by one each friend is jumping from a cliff down into the water below. And then the listener also jumps. So I mean, you like hear the ruffling of the air, and then a plunge into the water, and then the underwater sound, like being underwater is like the sounds of being underwater carries through the track.
Wow.
So it's kind of like I mean, I don't know, like
It's a journey.
yeah, it's a journey. Yeah. So when it came time to like now it's time to plan the album release, but the live shows that are happening to kind of like to show the album to different people, and I mean show this music to different people, and I was thinking like, how am I gonna do this live show?
Yeah.
Like I can play the music, and some of it's with other musicians, and yeah, we can like perform it. And I could also cue sounds, I could
Or
like
projections, yeah.
yeah, or make visuals. But really, this idea came to me to tell stories, and to use storytelling as a way to take the visitor to different experiences. And because it's really in our imaginations that stories happen, even though, I mean, someone's telling it to us, so we're making a connection with the storyteller. But we see images, we feel things, and the storytelling that I'm using is a really specific kind of storytelling where it's like it's done in the second person. And so I'm saying like, you are walking into a creaky old wooden house, and I mean, this is not a real story, I'm just kind of making
Sure,
you walk
sure.
up the stairs and
Improvising, right?
yeah, the cobwebs hit your face, and like it smells really musty, and you can hear like some creaking, and as I'm narrating like a journey, it's I can have like other musicians also like improvising, like while I'm saying this, the bass player can be in that space creating a mood that is approaching the song that we're going to play.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a kind of a cool way to bring everyone into the same headspace, because the bass player is also listening to the story, also creating like co-creating the story, because there's this music that he or she is playing, and then yeah, in a way it's like kind of my goal is to dissolve, if possible, this boundary between the audience and the stage, and so we're kind of all in it together. And so in my mind, the platonic ideal of where to take this is like, oh, it's like a campfire. We're just around like a hangout and like sharing stories and songs. And yeah, so I have also plans for like audience to contribute stories, but that's kind of ongoing. Like I'm not sure exactly how to integrate that, and maybe it'll be like people contribute stories, but then I put them in like future shows, you know, that it's not so
fascinating. It's an interactive show, super interactive show.
Yeah, and yeah, right.
Do you like that audience interaction? Like, do you hope with your music to interact with your audience?
I do.
Actively, let's say.
Right. Audience interaction has always scared me.
Yeah.
But and I found that, like, for years I was really bad at stage banter. Like, oh, the next song is gonna be this. I'm Eric Pan. Thanks for coming. Like, yeah, this song was written when I was on a merry-go-round, you know, in Dallas. I mean,
it's like when people go like, put your hands up in the air, you know, type of thing.
Yeah, and
wave them.
I was always so uncomfortable with that. And then when I started doing this storytelling, it was crazy because I had written all these new stories, and I knew that it was going to be in this like unconventional format to like narrate what you are doing. Like, you are in a dream and you like walk out into a garden and there's fairy lights, and then you step into a tub and it smells like lavender. And like, it's like, I never did that before. But when I performed the first show, doing the travel poem stories and music and cueing the sounds on like a tape recorder, it felt really natural.
Yeah.
And so I kind of breathed a sigh of relief going through that process, because it's like, oh, actually there is a way that I can interact with the audience. Maybe it's through these stories. Maybe there are other ways I can discover, but that don't feel like so foreign or like, I don't know, so uncomfortable for me.
Do you think there's an origin to, you said that it was natural to you, but do you think that there's something that's where that storytelling or that, you know, narrative, that lenience towards that side of expression comes from something, you know, but in your life, is there like a point that you can say, that's when I realized that stories?
Yes. And I don't know, I'm simultaneously like excited to talk about this and also a little scared, because it's really like I mean, you're like, it's really like keen of you to like see that there's an origin story potentially, because it's really from playing Dungeons and Dragons when I was a teenager and with my friends, and they introduced it to me. And this is all about that kind of storytelling. It's really like, oh, you're like, I mean, you're a wizard or whatever, and you're in like you're like trapped in a dungeon and you have to like escape or something. But then the person narrating all the stories, the dungeon master, is really like, is like a master storyteller. I mean, if they're good at it, they're amazing at giving you the lush detail of the world and like what other characters are doing and all the surroundings and all the sensate details, all the kind of like what you're smelling and feeling, and then also like just things that you would never notice. Like, maybe you're in a big scene, but then there's like there's like some details that are super mysterious, and to bring that to life requires vision and storytelling. And so that's how it was introduced to me. I think in the general sense, like, these stories are so powerful. This is how we've kept ourselves not, like, connected to each other. Yeah. I was gonna say not bored out of our skulls, but yeah. So maybe there's that too. But then also connected to each other and throughout thousands of years. And so But then for me, I was introduced to this kind of storytelling, and that's when it came time to say like, oh, how do I take the audience to places that it seemed like that was